Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 409 for the 21st of August 2016. Heidi Robertson here, filling in for Richard Saunders, who's not feeling so crash hot today. I'm sorry. Coming up, more from the Brisbane Skepticamp and an interview with Enrique, who talks about the real Dunning Kruger effect. No, not Brian Dunning from the Skeptoid podcast. This is the effect where unskilled people tend to overestimate their abilities. It's not, as many people think, people who are too stupid to know how stupid they are. After that, we join Maynard and Richard at the Australian Museum in Sydney as they get ready to perform the Mystery Investigators Science Show as part of the ongoing Science Week outreach program. Maynard also chats with Catherine Beehag, who is the manager of the festival, and visits the booth of the University of Technology to find out about extreme magnification with Alison. This report will be of particular interest to teachers. But now it's time for me to run to the kitchen and make my kids some lunch. I think they have requested toasted cheese sandwiches. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
It's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson.
Okay, who have we got here? What are you doing at Skepticamp? What's your name?
My name is Enrique Bustamante. I did a short presentation on the actual Dunning Kruger effect and comparing it to what people tend to think it is.
Okay, so first of all, tell us what your experience has been. That what do people generally think the definition of the Dunning Kruger effect is?
That people that are too stupid to know that they're stupid cannot tell that they are stupid.
Now tell us the correct meaning of the Dunning Kruger effect.
Off the top of my head, the nearest I can come up with is that those who are relatively unskilled in a specific thing tend to suffer illusory superiority regarding their ability in that particular thing that is being brought into question.
Okay, so you think the whole definition that most people think that the Dunning-Kruger effect is, that people are too stupid to know that they're stupid, is too simplistic?
As with most things, yes. It's also very catchy and sexy for the media. And when you think about it, if you say, well, they're too stupid to know that they're stupid, it also reinforces the whole positive message for me, they are not as good as I am. So it's a lot catchier, it's not as complicated, and you don't have to think about it too much, which is why it tends to kind of be a good meme that latches onto people and spreads. And sadly, it doesn't give us the real picture of what tends to happen with people, and that it has nothing to do with intelligence, just skill and experience.
Can you tell us a bit of the history of who Dunning and Kruger were and how that phrase came about?
Not much. I do know that it was a paper that they submitted in 1998. David Dunning was a research psychologist, if I recall correctly, and I forget his name. Mr. Kruger was his student, his research student under him, and they did a study which they looked at several different things, including humor and something more concrete, which was grammar. And they had a look at how people measured how good they thought they were, how well they tested, and how well they thought they did at the test. And the lower half, and especially the lower quarter of people, thought they were quite good and that they did quite well on the test, when in reality their results were appalling.
Oh, very interesting, because you do see it a lot, that phrase, in skeptic circles, and it's interesting to have heard your own experiences regarding the Dunning Kruger effect that you spoke of in your talk yesterday. Can you take us through that when you first began work?
Yes, well, it was during a practical experience during my university studies as a teacher. I went to a school that is not particularly low socioeconomic, but as far as student behavior is concerned, is quite rough. And I was given to a mentor teacher who was one of the best in the school at behavior management, and thus she had the rougher classes. And I went in thinking, I can do this, I'm going to be perfectly fine, I'm a genius, I can manage, it's no problem. And I almost failed my practical because of that. At one point, leaving the school, I had the thought to myself, I have no bleeping clue what I'm doing, because I honestly didn't. I did not have the necessary experience or knowledge to do what I needed to do in that classroom and keep the students from killing each other or myself.
But that takes quite a lot of insight into yourself to realise that. And then to take steps to fix it, so to speak, wouldn't you say?
It does take a lot. It is quite possible to go into a spiral of self-doubt where you think, do I know enough? Am I deluding myself into thinking I'm better than I am? Am I deluding myself into thinking I'm not good enough? And you kind of have to work your way out of it. I haven't actually read the research on that particular side of things, but it is something that can happen. But you do need to be able to look at yourself and think, do I need to go to someone who knows better?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a big part of what skepticism is, isn't it? It's recognising that you don't know everything, and also referring to the professionals in their field because that is their area of expertise.
Exactly. Especially, and that's why I wanted to do my talk, because simplifying it to that the stupid are too stupid to know that they're stupid takes away from the actual meaning of it, where it's you have this space to learn. You need to be able to identify when you need to go and get help, when you should say, I don't know enough to ask the right question, I don't know enough to actually be able to do this correctly. And simplifying it to it being about intelligence doesn't help either, because intelligence is not a quantifiable thing.
And so that whole experience that you had in the classroom that you described yesterday, it did seem to be quite traumatic for you, but also it appeared to be an epiphany for you in a way as well. So what did you do in order to learn what you had to do to get a classroom under control?
I learned to listen a lot more than I used to. I went from thinking of everything as a suggestion to actually listening to expert advice and considering it expert advice, and not simply arguing, but trying to frame any argument as to why should I do this thing in this way? Why should I consider it in the way you're telling me? To, can you maybe asking for clarification on the reasons for the expert advice and suggestions if I didn't understand why? And also going it to a point where I am much more comfortable now admitting to myself, I don't know enough, there is more to learn, and not skipping on anything someone who might know more than I will say.
And just as far as my own experience goes with people, I tend to respect people much more if they are able to take that step back and say, I don't know, instead of making something up or pretending that they do know everything, even if it is in their own area of expertise. There's always something that you don't know.
Very much so. And sadly, as Cassandra pointed out yesterday, it can be a matter of ego. Some people aren't resilient enough or haven't trained themselves to be resilient enough to be able to take that hit to their ego and admit in front of someone else or even to themselves, I don't know, in whatever form that's going to take.
I think it takes a level of maturity, do you think?
Maturity, yes, and a lot of the tools that we skeptics use, a lot of the metacognitive tools about being able to think and about how we think and process the information that we have.
Well, it was a very, very good talk yesterday, and thank you for your time on the Skeptic Zone, and we hope to see you at more Skeptics events in the future.
It was my pleasure, and thank you very much.
Hello everyone, Heidi Robertson here. Every single day in the United States alone, 22 ex-servicemen and women take their own lives. You may have seen a social media campaign found on Twitter with the hashtag 22 Push-Up Challenge. The idea is to raise awareness of the impact of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicide of the troops by doing 22 push-ups every day for 22 days, filming yourself and uploading it to social media. Each of those 22 days, the idea is to nominate someone else to take up the challenge. Currently, I'm at day 10 of my 22-day challenge and feeling pretty sore, a minor complaint compared with the pain and anguish of our veterans and their families. Today, as I record on the 18th of August 2016, is Vietnam Veterans Day in Australia. Australia had 60,000 troops in the Vietnam War, and like the USA, our rates of PTSD, depression, anxiety and suicide in our troops, wherever they served, are too high. Since 1999, 49 Australian soldiers have been killed whilst on active duty, while 239 have taken their own lives. So, if you can't manage full push-ups, try them on your knees or standing and doing them against the kitchen bench. Alternatively, many people are instead donating $22 to organisations assisting veterans in various ways. If none of those options are viable, you can always raise awareness by simply talking about it and reaching out to someone who may be having mental health difficulties. There is help out there. If you are struggling yourself, please don't give up. Seek some help. Thank you. This has been Heidi Robertson.
We've just opened a Quirkology exhibition at Edinburgh's Museum of Childhood. You can shrink in size, see the amazing cylinders to squares illusion live, watch all your favourite Quirkology clips, create your own illusions, be levitated by magician David Copperfield, and lots more. We can take the exhibition anywhere, so if you're a museum, science centre, shopping mall or school, get in touch.
For more information, visit www.quirkology.com.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Well, as you know, it's Science Week. Science Week all over this city. People are going wild, people are going crazy, people are just going out there and getting that PhD as quickly as they possibly can. I'm here with Catherine at the Australian Museum. We're up at the top level now, which is quite palatial, having a coffee. But you've got a Science Festival T-shirt on, so you know what's going on.
I sure do. So I manage the Australian Museum Science Festival here in Sydney at the Australian Museum. And it's been a very fun week, and I'm looking forward to next week where we've got all the high school kids coming.
Oh, now you said it's been very busy here, so what have we got happening today? We're doing a show for some kids. Are they primary school or high school?
So this week has been all of primary school. We've already seen about 3,000 primary school kids come through the door.
Wow, that's a lot of yelling.
That is a lot of yelling. It's a lot of excitement. So we have live animals, so the kids get to meet Frank, the tawny frogmouth. They get to hold lizards and a big snake, which scares a few kids.
Have you got a gibbon?
No, don't have a gibbon.
The apes are not represented.
I wouldn't say the apes are not represented.
That's true. Yeah, true. And look, have the kids been a bit difficult? Sometimes kids can pull or push or hide the turtle.
No, the kids have been really great. It helps that the teachers are there with the kids. But they've just been fantastic. They've just really enjoyed every single workshop and every single show that they've attended today.
Okay. And Catherine, as someone who's seen a few things going on, what do they seem to be the most interested in? What's the one thing the kids go, ooh, they're really up for it?
Well, one of my favourites is the forensic science workshop.
So the STEM reactor.
Not the STEM reactor. We've got another CSI workshop, which is run by some Australian Museum educators, and the kids get to dress up in a suit, so they get to put on the same equipment that forensic police use when they enter a crime scene, and they get to do DNA fingerprinting, which is great. They work in groups, and there's a team leader, there's a fingerprint expert, there's a material expert, and they get to work together to try and solve a crime. So it's a very immersive, and that's the whole thing about the Science Festival. It's a very immersive experience for the kids to engage with a whole range of different science. So this is forensic science, but we've got every other science as well, which is here today. So physics and chemistry and mathematics.
Catherine, have you got a PhD? Have you been to uni, all that sort of thing?
I have been to uni. I haven't got a PhD, though.
What are you working on?
So when I went to university, I did a science communications degree and a psychology degree.
Oh, okay. Tell me, narcissist? You're looking at me, you're thinking narcissist or sociopath? What are you thinking here?
I wouldn't want to disclose on radio.
Yes. Yep, she can't tell you. She knows. She just can't tell you. So does that make it, actually, having that degree, does that make it difficult when you meet people because you go, oh, Psych 101, you're a... I mean, everybody's in the DSM. Even you are in the DSM-5.
that is true. I think with a psychology degree, you do get a greater understanding, and I use a lot of what I've learnt for this festival, for instance, because I did child development, so I know what stage the children are at, also what type of learning styles we should be using for the different types of kids. So the Australian Museum, we're all about informal learning and immersive learning, and we treat every individual differently. Okay. Depending on...
What do you think's the next step here for the museum? Is there something you'd like to see them do here for the next step for Science Week next year? Is there something, we should do that?
Funny you mention that. There's a lot. At the moment... Gibbons, of course. But there is a lot of potential of including even more workshops and shows. We do have over 405 different workshops over the 2 weeks, and we have 50 organisations coming from all over Australia presenting, which is fantastic. But what I would personally like to see next year is having some more international collaborations. So yesterday I met up with the director of the New Zealand Science Festival, and we were talking about us being part of their festival and having some Indigenous science, because one of our big focuses here over the 2 weeks is Indigenous science, and having their Maori science educators coming and giving a different cultural aspect of their science that they use in New Zealand. And there's so many other partnerships and collaborations that I would love to investigate for next year. You can learn from everyone, no matter where they're from. Everybody has a story, and you can.
Well, that's what it's all about this week here, really. So we're going to be confronting some primary school students down there, am I?
Yes, we have a lot of primary school kids that have
got some teachers to corral them there.
we do have some teachers.
See, the good thing, in fact, listener, this is a good thing. When primary school kids come in, it's a bit different to when high school kids come in, because I've noticed, particularly if it's a private girls' school from year 11 or year 12, they're like a bit, I don't want to appear uncool. But it's primary school kids, they're like, I want to talk.
Exactly. That's why I really loved looking after the primary school kids. But even though the year 11 and 12s, they look like they're not having fun.
They're in their cliques. They don't want to appear uncool.
They don't want to appear uncool, but I've talked to quite a lot after workshops. So because I came from a science teaching background, so I was doing shows all around Australia, all around Scotland, all around England for a while. And so what I've found, especially teaching, and I love teaching the high school students, because you do all these things and you get blank faces because they don't want to show that they're really excited. But then you talk to them afterwards and they're like, wow, that was amazing. We want to be a scientist like you. We want to get more involved. What can we study to do whatever particular science that I was teaching that day? And so even though they don't emotionally show it because they want to be cool...
I gave up on being cool years ago. Frankly, no point.
I think there's
you're still in there. You're doing fine, but I gave up.
Yeah. No, what I would recommend to the listeners is, keep that inner child, keep learning, keep experiencing, and living life to the fullest.
Look, we're here at the Australian Museum. We're just waiting to go in and do the Mystery Investigator show. It's a primary school crowd we'll be working to today, Mr. Saunders.
Primary school age groups, that's something like 11 and 12. 11 and 12, 13-year-old kids.
But they will have a teacher with them. And the thing is that if you're saying something, just say it really loudly and they believe you.
That's true. And I've said to you today that you can ham it up a bit more. Not that you ever ham it up. And use your trombone.
Yeah, I'll be saying, cardboard is an element. I'll be saying stuff like that. There's hydrogen and cardboard. And if you say, hydrogen and cardboard, you say it loud like that, they believe you.
Yeah, they all say, what's an element?
Look, I'm very disappointed. There's a few animals that you can play with here in the museum, but as I have mentioned before, there's no gibbons. There's no gibbon to play with at the Australian Museum.
We're sitting under the skeleton of a giant whale. Well, all whales are pretty big, I suppose.
Bloody hell, yeah.
And over your shoulder there's a buffalo and a bear and an armadillo.
Oh, and I see our doors open here, so we better get our bed of nails ready.
Our door is open, but all the kids from the previous show, or the show just finished, haven't streamed out yet. But there are a lot of kids running around the hall here.
That's true. Yelling buffalo. Wow. See? I thought it was just a Nina Cherry song, but there it is, buffalo.
Now the previous kids are now streaming out of the Hellstrom Theatre. So in about 2 minutes we'll be able to go in, set up the Mystery Investigators, and we'll take it from there.
We've just done the first Mystery Investigators show of the day. We're just waiting for the second one to come in. How do you think the first show went, Richard?
My mic is on, so my voice is...
Shh, okay, well, I can just tell you, it went well. It went very well.
It went well. It's okay. I won't turn off my mic. It was a big audience, and they were really well-behaved, a group of all boys, in fact.
Yeah. And everyone gets a bit confused when they pick the water, even if they have 3 goes at it. When someone picks the water, they think, oh, it does work.
Oddly enough, that happens 1 in 6 goes. I'll have a go and you can describe what's happening.
Okay, now it looks like you're doing some sort of fractal thing here, Richard. What are you doing?
I'm looking how...
It looks like you're shaving with a mouse.
That's a very extreme close-up of my face we're looking at.
Oh, right. Oh, so we can do that and then imagine that we've got all sorts of skin cancers. This is keep you amused all afternoon.
That's one way to say it, Maynard.
Oh, that's what I'd do immediately. I would use that and go, yeah, I'm going to die.
There's my palm print, you see? So what we have here is we have got a magnifying device set up to a computer and pressed against my skin with some lights, and we can see an extreme close-up of the pores of my skin.
And for the listener, it's best described as black. Well, come on. I mean, I don't think anyone's skin up that close is going to be a portrait of porcelain.
Let's look at my watch. Look at that time ticking by.
Wow. Yeah, it's true, yeah. When you do look at that, it just goes to explain why you shouldn't spend so much on watches, because any watch even that close looks crappy. Look, I'll actually talk to someone who has...
Talk to somebody who knows what...
Yes, I believe this person has been to a tertiary place for more than a day like I did. Who have we got here and where are you from?
My name's Alison. I'm from the University of Technology, Sydney. Sorry, my voice is a little bit croaky.
Oh, that's okay, because you've been talking to people about science all day today. And what have you been hoping to educate them with the magnifying on the computer screen there?
Just to show them that under the microscope, the whole world completely changes.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to one perspective, under the microscope, it's a completely different one. And that your whole perspective on things can completely change. And what you normally think of something can be completely different to what you initially had thought. And so a blue circle may be completely different under the microscope, and that is different pigments of different colours making that blue.
That's quite a good scientific lesson to make. And of course, even compared to when people talk about quantum stuff, this is still a major macro vision.
Yeah. So it's definitely not the strongest of magnification, but it does give a little bit more of an insight to kids who want to know more about it.
What do they normally seem most surprised about? Is they put it on their face or their fingerprint, or what do they normally look and they go, wow, what seems to be blowing their mind today?
It's definitely skin, because when we look at different people's skin, it just looks quite smooth and just quite normal, but under the microscope there's definitely all these different cracks and pigments of colour. Some people like to look at their freckles and little bumps, and it just looks so strange and out of this world sometimes.
Yeah. Look, for a major hypochondriac like me, like I said, I don't think I could use it. I'd just be going, oh yeah, that's a cancer, that's a cancer, that's a cancer, that pimple's going to kill me, all that sort of stuff, you know?
Yeah. Some people look at bumps and think, oh my God, what is that?
And what sort of courses have you been talking about that people might be interested at UTS? Because you have quite a range of courses there for someone who wants to get into any science. So, of course, what's your favourite? You'd obviously be playing a favourite here, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I've done medical science, so the biologies are definitely my favourite. But out of the things that we have on our stand, we have different examples of physics, maths, biology, and so of the people who have come here, we've definitely been talking about the medical sciences, applied physics and chemistry.
Okay. And here on the Skeptic Zone, I do like to ask people what took them down their tertiary education track. Why did you get interested in biology? Why didn't you go into something a bit more static like geology or something like that?
Well, when I got into it, I just realised I love learning about the human body and just how our body works. It's something we normally take for granted, how we walk, how we breathe, how we eat. And when we know more about it, we begin to appreciate a lot more of our bodies and just how we take care of it.
What's the thing that fascinates you most about the human body and the way it does itself? Is it the reproduction, digestion? Is there a particular area where you go, that's amazing?
To be honest, everything about it, because the whole body works in unison. You learn of the different systems, but then you realise that one thing isn't independent of each other. They all work together, and without one of them, another doesn't work. And so it becomes this very complete thing that's sometimes looks really fragile, but also really resilient at the same time. I don't think a lot of people realise just how easy it is for our bodies to stop working, but also how amazing the body is.
They work in the first place.
Yeah, it's just like the things that happen in our body that makes things work is just incredible.
Is the word symbiosis a way to explain how everything works in rhythm, or is that a bad example?
No, that's precisely how it works. Just from the different systems to the different cells to the different, even how the bacteria functions to help our body and sometimes hurt us.
Yeah, because we're just carrying around a whole stack of bacteria, and most of it is harmless to us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So some would say that we're more bacteria than human, given that we have a lot more bacteria.
Yeah, but people who like bacteria say that. I think you'd find that it's people who work in the bacterial sciences, they're always saying stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I think viruses, no one ever has a good word for them, but the bacteria people, they're always pushing that.
No, bacteria definitely has a good side to our story, but of course they definitely have a bad side. But I don't think viruses play a particularly good role in our daily life compared to bacteria anyway.
Yeah, so have a kind word for bacteria occasionally, people. Lift your game on that department. Yeah. Thanks a lot for chatting to us. And where can we find out more about UTS online, or more of the courses and that sort of thing, if you're thinking, well, maybe I might do some science in my life?
So at the moment, the biggest sort of help would probably be UTS Open Day, which is on August 29th, I think. Okay. And that way everyone can come into the university and check out firsthand the courses and academics that are available there.
And what's your website?
uts.com.au.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. And if not, just go to Google and click UTS, and particularly the course that you want to do. It's very easy. Or if you come to the university, you can get a course guide from us.
Great. Have a good day here. I'll let you get back to your magnifying glass and scaring people. Bye-bye.
All good.
Dr. Harriet Hall, MD, known to thousands as the Skepdoc, a retired family physician and former Air Force flight surgeon. She writes about medicine, so-called complementary and alternative medicine, science, quackery, and critical thinking. Harriet now has a free course, a series of 10 video lectures on science-based medicine and alternative medicine. The videos and an accompanying course guide can be found by following the link at skepdoc.info or by visiting web.randy.org/educational-modules.html. Topics covered in the series are science-based medicine versus evidence-based medicine, what is CAM, chiropractic, acupuncture, homeopathy, naturopathy and herbal medicine, energy medicine, miscellaneous alternatives, pitfalls in research, and science-based medicine in the media and politics. Harriet covers each topic in a matter-of-fact, no-nonsense way that's sure to educate and entertain. Skepdoc.info.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Get well soon, Richard. I do hope your skeptical kittens are looking after you. I don't have any skeptical cats, I'm afraid, just a rather credulous dog who nevertheless says hello. And I must apologise for probably making you feel a bit nauseated this morning, Richard, when I told you I was standing in the pharmacy looking at homeopathic teething gel for babies and rows of ear candles. Yep, still on the shelves. But for this week, this is Heidi Robertson from the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters, signing off from the beautiful Northern Rivers of New South Wales.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.